Hey 302, I'm Jackie Ferris. This week we grab our masks and head outdoors to Winterthur's Garden and Estate Tour. No mask required. The 302 is checking it out straight ahead. Hey 302, I'm Jackie Ferris. If you're looking for a way to get outside and enjoy the fresh air during the pandemic, well, Winterthur has a tour for you. I'm joined now by Chris Strand. He is the Director of Garden and Estate, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the Garden and Estate tram tour, which we're taking right now. Now, we do have our masks, and we're 6 feet apart. Chris, it's so nice to meet you.
Oh, thank you, Jackie. I'm excited.
Tell me a little bit about this this tour that we're going on.
Well, this tour takes you through the core of the garden. It's about 1.1 miles on this loop, and it gives visitors to Winterthur a nice introduction to the historic garden, to the big house that the DuPonts lived in, a little taste of the wider estate. We're about 1,000 acres here. So it's a nice way for people to get the lay of the land and figure out what they want to see on the rest of their visit when they come to Winterthur.
Now, when we come on this tour, I know that everyone is social distancing and you have to wear your mask when you go into the estate. So when you get on the tram tour, what are the rules, first of all?
We do have visitors sit in every other row. We do ask them to wear masks. It is, as you can tell, an open air tour. Families can sit together when they're seated together. They arrive together, so that makes sense. And because it limits the numbers of people who can take the tram tour, it's a lot easier if people pre-register to do it. That way they know they get a seat.
Now, this is the perfect way to kind of get the lay of the land of the estate, because this estate is massive. Talk to me about how big it is.
So it's about 1,000 acres, which is about 1.5 square miles. We have about 10 miles of roads, about 25 miles of trails. The core garden, the historic part of the garden, is about 75 acres. So you can imagine, you could spend the whole day just exploring that 75 acres. An acre is about a football field, right? So it's a huge estate, lots to explore, something for everyone if they want to get out and take a hike as an example. So
talk to me about the first part of the tour, what we're going to be seeing in the next couple of minutes.
This is kind of the surprise part of the tour. People arrive at Winterthur and they don't see a big mansion, and they sort of wonder, it's 175 rooms, it's 100,000 objects in the collection, and all they're seeing are these farm fields and ferns and trees. And on this first part of the tour, you slowly climb to one of the higher parts of the estate and then look down at the house, which is kind of the moment when everyone goes, wow, it's a 9-story house with 175 rooms. It's hard to imagine.
So it's almost like whenever you get to the top, there's a big reveal.
Absolutely. Some places you visit the White House, or you go to Mount Vernon, you see the big house right away. But here it just sort of reveals itself as you go through the landscape, which was something that was done on purpose.
So everything around the estate, you said, was done on purpose, kind of planned to reveal something new at each phase. I know there are gardens and things like that. Talk to me about how it was laid out and who laid it out.
Well, Mr. DuPont was really excited about the idea of almost like a little community here, the estate. And there are farms that provided food for the family and for the people who worked on the property. And they all have a design to them, so they're all part of this big composition on the whole 1,000 acres. And then when you get into the garden, you're seeing the collaboration between Mr. DuPont and his childhood friend, Marion Coffin, who's this very famous landscape architect. And they worked basically throughout their entire lives building the garden together. And it's kind of a remarkable thing to see something that was a life's work, still intact.
Now, is this something that, I guess people who are local, maybe they come out for a picnic or an event, but this is something that draws people from all over the place just to see Coffin's work. Is that right?
Absolutely. And many people consider her a real trailblazer for women. She was educated at MIT. She was one of the probably most famous landscape architects of her era. And she just happened to have this close personal relationship with Mr. DuPont. So they worked over decades together to create the garden. But there are other places you can visit, like the University of Delaware campus, which have Marion Coffin's imprint on them. SIW or Hillgert Farm up the road, Gibraltar down in Wilmington. These were all famous gardens of the era that she helped design.
It really is beautiful and so very lush. Now, is this intentional or just how it grew?
He was very idiosyncratic in the way he did the garden, so he wanted it to look as though nature planted it. So there are very few formal areas in the garden. Unlike his cousin's place at Longwood, which is very formal, it's sort of the clockmaker's garden. This is very naturalistic, and it has an appeal this time of year because it feels 10 degrees cooler. You're underneath the canopy of these enormous trees. Some of these trees in this area are the state champions in the state of Delaware. So they're 200, 300 years old. One of those trees down on the front lawn is the tallest tree in the state of Delaware. So, kind of remarkable, even at this time of year, to experience the grandeur of the landscape.
All righty, Chris, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Deborah Harper and I love the 302.
Welcome back. We're talking with Chris Strand, who is the director of Garden and Estate, about the gorgeous trolley tour here at Winterthur. Now, Chris, we're actually on the carriage path that Mr. DuPont would take his visitors. Is that right?
That's right. This is the way he would take guests through the garden. And he had a lot of garden visitors. He invited the Garden Club of America to visit anytime they wanted.
That must have been an amazing then and now to have all the groups come and kind of trace his footsteps.
Absolutely. This tram tour in a busy year, absent a pandemic, will have 40 to 50,000 guests on it.
That's amazing. That truly is. Now we're getting ready to come up on another reveal. I know we saw a big reveal in our last segment of the house, but kind of give us a preview of what we're about to see.
Well, I think he liked the drama of this reveal at what we call Magnolia Bend. So we're in the woodlands here. It's beautiful, it's shady, it's very comfortable. This is the oldest part of the garden. It's over 100 years old. There's about 20 to 30 million bulbs that flower in this valley every spring. But in a few minutes, we're going to pop out of the woods. It's going to get suddenly much brighter, and we're going to see across meadows, we're going to see some of the historic farmsteads and things. It was all part of the composition for him.
So we're talking about all of these bulbs. How do you maintain these bulbs? I know a lot of times they come up on their own. Once you plant them, that's good. But right. I would imagine there's a lot of grooming that happens here.
Yeah, our busiest time of year actually for this is the fall, to kind of get ready for springtime. We will have the first bulbs popping up in December and early January. So we have to get all, just like every homeowner, we have to get all the leaves out of the way, make sure they're not covering up the bulbs. And then when they are ready to start their show, they have a kind of clear stage and can really make an impact.
Wow, it just got so bright all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It certainly did. Now we've got a structure over here. Now, can a visitor wander over there and maybe have lunch?
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons we've added these structures. We have a temporary exhibit right now with some really interesting architecture, and it's to encourage people to go and explore. Go out, take a seat, maybe bring a picnic, go out there with your kids and read a book. Great opportunity to get out in the wider landscape.
It certainly is, and I can imagine now that everybody has been cooped up for a little while and they want to get out and everything. A picnic, especially in such a beautiful setting, is perfect.
Yeah, it's been very hot, but it has been remarkable how many people have been out despite the heat, walking the wider estate. There's plenty of shady places, obviously, but you can tell that people are anxious to get outside and just enjoy some family time in a setting that feels reassuring.
Sure. And when we come to visit, what should we bring? I know if we have to go inside, we have to wear a mask, but we should also bring things like water, sunscreen, things like that?
Absolutely. We have water bottle filling stations. So if you come to the estate and you bring your reusable water bottle, you can be nice and eco-friendly and fill up. We have very limited food service right now. So if you want to bring a picnic, we do welcome people to picnic on the grounds. So it's a wonderful way to enjoy the property. You can see we've got a little mirrored pavilion over there. I see a lot of picnickers enjoying that because it's on the north side of these big conifers. So, and then it's mosquito time, so if you're here in the evening, you want to have some mosquito repellent.
And it's really nice to get a nice cross breeze as you're going. You mentioned the mirrored, it's like a gondola kind of thing. Is that in step with some kind of architecture, or is that something modern brought into a classic setting?
We did bring in modern architecture. He collected architecture and placed it throughout the garden. And so we added some pieces and created a loop for people to enjoy. It takes about 45 minutes to walk, and they can see some of his historic pieces, like the brick lookout that's going to be behind me in a minute. Mm-hmm. And then you can enjoy some of the modern pieces too. Just a new way to explore the garden.
Excellent. Now, what area are we in right now? Is this Magnolia Way?
So we are actually between the sundial garden. This is like a perfect, you can see the sundial.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and then the brick lookout right there. And we're about to approach Enchanted Woods. So we have a garden that's really for families and kids, and it's built from items that we sort of rescued on the estate. There's a little fairy cottage, and there's a hand pump and trough from one of the barns, and kids can explore and use their imagination in there. It's not meant to teach them how photosynthesis works or anything. It's just meant for them to enjoy and kind of explore.
Now, whenever you're, you say fall is the busiest time for you, but whenever you're adding on or replacing, you have to be very mindful, I would imagine, of the kind of plants that would have been planted by Coffin and DuPont back in the day, right?
Yeah, I mean, remarkably, a lot of these plants are really only found in this garden. Our azaleas came from Japan in 1917. So the rule of thumb is if Mr. DuPont returned tomorrow, he should immediately recognize this as the garden he created, down to all the plants that he planted.
That's quite a responsibility.
Yeah. So we propagate everything, and we are very careful about restoring things to sort of his level of quality and vision. And that's the job of the garden staff here.
Now, is there a greenhouse around here somewhere where you work on new plantings that you're going to have to do in the fall?
We actually use our greenhouses. They're old greenhouses, so we use them sort of for public programs. We contract out with a lot of nurseries in the area. We have such a great green industry in the Delaware Valley. So we collaborate with lots of nurseries in the area to propagate our plants.
Excellent. We're coming up on Enchanted Woods in just a moment, so we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Angela from The Queen, and you are watching The 302.
Welcome back. We're taking the garden and estate tour, and we're talking with Chris Strand about all of this. Now, Chris, this must just be a fantastic setting to work in.
Absolutely. It's beautiful every day I drive in.
Definitely. Now, we're passing like a castle-like structure here. What is this?
That's another one of our follies. We created that, as part of this loop of architecture that kids and families could explore. And of course, the kids love that. It feels like you're defending a Gothic tower.
Sure. Now, we're getting ready to come up on another reveal not too far from here. Tell me a little bit about what we're going to see.
Well, the reflecting pool is a favorite of a lot of our visitors. The reflecting pool was Mr. DuPont's swimming pool. And in 1929, it was state of the art. It was one of the first private heated swimming pools in the United States. It has a speaker system so he can play his opera music out over the water.
Nice. What is bathing in a pool without opera music?
Exactly. Had custom lighting system, had a small kitchen in one of the bathhouses, had full bathhouses so that guests could change and enjoy the water. It was really, for its time, state of the art. Nowadays it's a reflecting pool, so when guests come down to it, they sort of have to imagine what this was like as a swimming pool.
It's gorgeous. Now you said there's blue tile.
It originally had blue glass tile, and it has a hippocampus figure in one end of the pool, which is a sort of swimming horse that kids used to like to ride on. We've managed to reproduce it and put it back in the pool so people can kind of see the sculpture there now.
And it's there's several water features in the area, is that right?
Absolutely. He had a waterfall that was sort of built into the hillside and cascaded down to these two pools that we call the Glade. And lots of families come this time of year to feed the koi there, which are almost like little house cats. They come up immediately to the side of the pool to be fed.
Mm-hmm. The koi tend to be that way, I find. They tend to be very friendly because they know that you're going to feed them.
Absolutely. They have personalities.
Sure. Now, do you have someone that takes care of the koi, and can we go up and feed the koi if we want?
We do. Now, Colin, who takes care of the area, asks that he, because he gives them special food and everything. But of course, occasionally guests will bring bread or something like that.
Yeah, excellent. So we're going to come up to the train station in just a little bit, but talk to me a little bit about the area that we're going into now.
Well, this is when people start to get a sense of the rural landscape here at Winterthur. Mr. DuPont had a prize-winning Holstein Friesian dairy herd. He had all these farms, little farmettes, as part of the estate. And as we drive out to the train station, it's worth pointing out that the DuPonts did have a train station on the property. Mr. DuPont's father, Henry Algernon DuPont, was president of the Wilmington Northern Rail Line. So he had a train station built on the property, and it is where we had our post office. Winterthur is its own zip code, and we had, and still have to this day, a post office.
Really?
So, yeah.
So if you have bills or something, you can just zip them over to the post office?
You know, back in the day when we used to mail tax returns, it was the best place to mail your tax return from because there was never a line. So, and I think we had the record for the longest serving postmistress in the state of Delaware.
So tell me a couple of interesting facts that people might not know about the tour here and about the gardens.
Well, one fun thing is we're going out towards the train station. We're passing all this water. You're seeing all these ponds and everything. The estate contributes about 1 million gallons of water a day to the Brandywine. Almost all of that originates on the property. So we're a very important part of the Brandywine watershed and the Delaware River watershed. We get a lot of guests asking about this pond here because we have these little baskets floating in the pond. And what those are freshwater mussels. And freshwater mussels are native to the ecosystem here. And Partnership for the Delaware Estuary is helping us retrieve the mussel population. So we have a little freshwater mussel nursery. We're raising those here, and then they're distributing those to the watershed in the Delaware River Valley.
Oh, nice. So in addition to being beautiful, it's also functioning and giving back to nature.
Absolutely. You know, we have, like I said, 1 million gallons of water a day, and it's really what sustains this landscape. So as you go through different parts of the estate, you see springs bubbling up, the little spring houses and so forth. That's all part of what makes the perfect conditions for the garden.
It's just amazing how gorgeous and how well kept and historical it is, you know?
Well, we have 118 buildings on the grounds, and we try to maintain them all as historic features of the landscape. So it's a lot of work, you know, obviously, to try to maintain, 18th century buildings. But we want them to be something that people would enjoy as almost like ornaments in the landscape.
Excellent. Now, if somebody wants to come and take the tour, hours vary depending upon what's happening with the pandemic. So how do they find out about the tour and how do they book a ticket?
The best way is to look on the website. I've tried it myself. It's very easy. So you can go on, you can see what time slots are available, and with a couple clicks, you can make a reservation. Members are, of course, able to just do all these tours for free. But if you're a guest, there's a nominal fee in order to do the tour.
And it's certainly worth it. You want to make sure that you pack a lunch because it's going to be a fantastic day. Chris, thank you so much for taking us on this tour.
That was my pleasure. Thank you, Jackie.
We'll be right back. That'll do it for this episode of the 302. For more information on tours or what's in bloom, be sure to check out wintertour.org or their Instagram page. We leave you now with a breathtaking view of the garden. Until next time, I'm Jackie Ferris. We'll see you on the 302.